Do you think that was a person? I'm like shaking right now.
You hear that? What is that? What are you hearing, Fizzy? It's crazy.
Not a bear.
I don't think so. What the fuck is that? Yeah, there's one back there too, like earlier.
Yeah, that's not a dog bark.
Holy God.
Okay, we heard something. What did you hear back over here, Donnie?
I don't know, I heard a growl at one time, and then it sounded like something was walking or something over here. We're gonna go check it out and see what it is.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Some kind of growl.
We were like standing over here and we heard a growl down in this little ravine. We're gonna like check it out. We don't know what it was.
The sound you hear is what some experts claim to be a Bigfoot scream. Recorded in the state of Washington by a group of campers in 1971, it is regarded as the highest quality audio of the creature ever captured.
My name is Mal Scahan. I am an enrolled member of the Yakima Nation, and I also am employed with the Yakima Nation within the forestry program. I'm a forestry tech.
So you spend a great deal of time in the woods.
I spend a lot of time in the woods.
A lot of time.
Trimming trees up here and cutting wood. It's right above the house up here in the woods. And I just got to set the chainsaw down and run out of gas. And I started to come back down towards the house and get the gas can. When I did, I happened to notice something moving up in the woods.
In that area. This is a pretty deep, steep drop off right here. We can take a good tumble right now.
That's not what I heard.
Yeah, we didn't hear that pack of coyotes that we heard earlier. This was something different. This was a growl, and then I heard a lot of noise down there too.
I have had a few encounters with Bigfoot in my lifetime. Been obsessed ever since. I'm gonna say around 1990, 1991. Cool in the mornings, cold at night, and during the day the sun was out. There was no snow yet, but cool enough where you had to wear sweaters and a jacket.
My name is Mike Woolley. I'm from Keachai, Louisiana. I had an encounter back in December of 1981 with a Bigfoot while deer hunting. It was a beautiful December day, perfect weather for a hunt.
That's a steep, look at that. That's like a steep road, isn't it? Again, we're standing here at the top there's a ravine again down here at the bottom that you can see up behind me. And again, me and Donnie heard something really, really strange down here. We were just standing back on the backside, and first we heard a pack of coyotes off in the distance, which is quite natural, and we're in Texas, we hear that quite a bit. But a few minutes after that, we heard something really loud down this ravine off behind, back down here where I'm pointing. And it's a really steep incline going down here. And we have a full moon tonight out here, but it's still kind of creepy. So we're just trying to see what we heard and what that growl was and what all that noise was afterwards.
1967, out there in Ferndale, California. We was out there walking in the woods, and we seen a bunch of tracks, and they was over 18 to 25 inches long.
We were sent out to do a timber measurement, and we were having a hard time locating the area to get in close for our walk-in. And it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was driving the vehicle, the work vehicle at the time, and my passenger spotted something off on his side, on the right-hand side.
I thought it was either a dog or a bear or something, just by, you know, the way it's moving. And then I got to looking at it, and it's behind a bunch of multiple roses. Okay. And I got to noticing that the rose bush, you know, which are pretty big up here, and it was every bit of 6 foot tall at least. Yeah. And anyhow, I got to looking at it, and I kept thinking, well, dang, you know, it was awful tall to be behind that bush and still.
The game was already spooked, so a lot of the deer and stuff were already aware of people around, and it was hard to hunt. A lot of game was snapped already to hunters. So anyways, we had been hunting for a couple of days with no luck, and my father had an old Bronco, 60-something Bronco, the smaller ones, about the size of a Jeep, and we ran into a particular road with a cul-de-sac at the end, and then it turned into a Jeep trail and went down a canyon. We all sat and talked with each other because we saw no tire tracks going down this Jeep trail anytime recent. So we weren't having much luck and decided to go check out this canyon. Maybe there'd be game down there because nobody had been down there from what we could tell. So we all decided to drive down, and we drove down almost towards the end of the canyon. And I remember another canyon coming from west to east, and we're headed north, and it was dropping into that canyon, and then it continued on. So anyways, as we're driving down pretty close to the end there, my uncle had a doe tag and my father had a buck tag, and at that time there was a 4-point restriction on bucks. So if it was 4 points or bigger, it's a legal kill. So anyways, we meet up with a doe and 2 bucks off to our right, and we run out of the truck, get as close as we can to them, and my uncle fires and the doe drops. Anyways, right after that, the 2 bucks took off running up the mountain. So my uncle and my cousin began gutting the doe, and me and my father took pursuit of the 2 bucks. So anyways, we run towards them, and they were already aware of our presence. We'd run a ways, and we'd spot them on top of us looking at us, and they wouldn't give us a chance to see if they were a legal kill or not, because they would run a little more, and when we get to where they were at, they were about another 100 yards looking at us. We tried to look at them, and we couldn't make out if they were a legal kill. My dad didn't want to take the chance. So anyways, we took pursuit all the way up the mountain, and I remember when we caught sight of the mountaintop, the ridge, the bucks were looking at us. They saw us and turned around and went over. So anyways, we got to the top, and I'm pretty sure I was slowing down my father because I was 12 or 13 at the time. So he told me to stay put and wait for him, that he didn't think the bucks were mature enough anyway to be a legal kill. and he went on over after the deer while I stayed up on top. So anyways, I'm sitting there just excited, waiting to hear a gunshot, you know, hoping my father had killed one and it was a legal kill and whatnot. I'm just sitting around, just being real quiet. I'm looking everywhere and just be happy to be up there, excited. So anyways, about 60 yards to my south was a cluster of pretty good sized boulders. And I noticed something reddish brown among them. I paid no attention to it. I was just waiting for my father's return. It had already been about maybe 15 minutes or so. And there was a strong breeze that would come by about every 3 or 4 minutes and then was dead calm again. And anyways, I'm just sitting and waiting, looking around. And then I happened to glance back towards that area where those boulders were. And I noticed the reddish brown thing move.
It was a beautiful December day, perfect weather for a hunt. Temperature was about 30 degrees. I got to my deer stand that evening, about 3 o'clock, got on it. And I was sitting there and I was facing to the north. And my deer stand was located about 1.5 miles down Old Logging Road and off the main highway, secondary highway. And what I would do, I would park my truck halfway down the logging road and I would walk in the rest of the way because I didn't want to drive my truck down and spook the deer. Well, it must have been, I hadn't been there no more than 30 minutes and this little young doe deer come running from the east out of some briars and brush that there's no way a human could walk through that. But she come up to my deer stand, and what was so amusing, come up to my deer stand and laid down, up and actually touching the deer stand. She was wringing wet with sweat. She had been run, something had been running her. And first thing hit my mind, it was a big buck. And I said, I'm gonna kill me a big buck. So when I raised my head back up, I was turning my head and out of my peripheral vision, I seen something hop to a tree. And it was tall, about 7, 8 foot tall, and it was black, real hairy, like a gorilla.
Sitting in an high chair at the dining room table, and I was right next to the dining room window. And we had like the, not shades, but the drapes. Yeah. You know, and there was like a crack this wide open, you know, and I was able to see. And this really ugly face was looking in at me, and I started screaming. And I said, there's a monster out there. My brother and my dad went out there. My dad went with the shotgun. I was gone.
I was looking for him, but we never could find him. But we come on back, and about 30 miles from us, there was 15 hunters was out in the woods, and they disappeared. All their guns and camp stuff was broke apart. Plenty of big footprints, but no people. They never did find them. We searched for over a month up there looking for them. We couldn't find them, but we found a lot of big footprints.
And we drove right by whatever it was, and he was hesitant to tell me what that was. I had leaned in front of him because he was blocking my view, and what I had saw was something black in color, it wasn't heavy, it was sort of lean, and it was running away from us. And I put the truck in park, opened my door, stood up on the door sill so I could get a better view of it, and at that point it was all I could see at that time was the back side of it. It was standing on 2 legs, or not standing, but it was running on 2 legs, and it had an arm motion, and I could see the shoulders and eventually the head as well, all working separately, and not on 4 legs. It wasn't a bear. Whatever it was human-like. When this thing was running away from me, you could see the shoulder, clear shoulder movement in it as it was running. And you could see the separation of the legs as it was going. And then it banked off or turned to its right. And then you could see as the gait was, as it was moving, it was still moving on two legs, because that's all you saw moving. And then you saw the arm swinging. At that time, I told him that there was something down there, that I'm just going to go take a look at it, see what it was. So as I'm walking down there, I'm finding large slide marks in about 70 to 80% slope. And I'm following these slide marks, and I'm looking back up, and I could see my coworker up there. And the tracks, or the slide marks that I found hooked off to the left, I looked up again, he wasn't there. I mean, I couldn't see him. So I just called it off. I was doing, walk back up and come up with a plan of attack of how we were going to work this area. And on the process of going back up, I was looking at the slide marks again, and I looked up the hill, and I seen him running across the hillside, and then running down towards me, and then I seen a rock behind him. And he come up to me and he asked me if I had heard anything, and I was like, no, I didn't hear nothing. He asked me a couple more times, and I was like, no, I didn't hear anything, but I saw the rock that you kicked loose. And he's like, no, I said, I didn't kick that rock loose. The rock was thrown at me.
The rock was how big?
The rock was about just a bit bigger than I guess a soccer ball, or it was a pretty good size. It was a little bit bigger than my head was. Somebody else being in the area said he heard these two large grunts before the rock, and he heard this wah, ah, and then he saw this.
He saw the rock coming.
He saw the rock actually being tossed because he was down here. It was up here. He did not have clear visual of what it was.
You couldn't see what through it.
But he couldn't see. Yeah, he couldn't see what through it. He just saw as it left, he saw the arc.
People don't see Bigfoot, but when you look at terrain like this, or even terrain like in pine trees and so forth, it's real easy to hide at night in something like this. And if Bigfoot is nocturnal, which we all believe that it probably is, these creatures, if they do exist, which is a very good possible chance, that they're obviously not going to be around during the day. They're going to be sleeping, and at night they're going to be moving around. And through this kind of terrain, it's easy to move around through.
The only thing you would see at night is like where my flashlight's shining. If I just have any animal, even a human being, if the flashlight's shining in front of your eyes, you get the glow from your eyes. Well, right away somebody, it's the devil,
Exactly.
I mean, that'd be the only way you could see it here at night.
This ravine, it's hard, for us to show people in the camera how deep this ravine is, but it's pretty deep. It probably goes down a good 80 feet, maybe even 100 feet. And there's wild trees all the way around here. I mean, this is your typical Texas terrain. Up here in West Texas, it's just really, really wild. Like you were saying, Donnie, anything could hide in here if I really wanted to. I know I could hide from people. If I don't want to be seen, I think it would be pretty easy.
Oh yeah.
People always wonder why they don't see Bigfoot with all the encounters that are out there. But when people explain these encounters, they're very mysterious. And sure, there are people that create hoaxes out there, but we've talked to very credible people before. You can see it in their eyes that they're telling the truth.